And hello and welcome back to the channel, and welcome if it's your first time. We are in Brownsville, Vermont. This is my first time ever in Vermont this weekend. I've created several videos. I wanted to make this one a very special one. I was going to throw this into another video, but because it's so important to me and it's such an important subject matter and it's to commemorate someone's life, I thought I would just make this a whole video. As you can see, it is summer, it is beautiful. This is a beautiful, tranquil cemetery. I would love to be buried here. Look at this. Look at the mountain up there. There's several ski hills right there. This is awesome. Charles Bronson, the American actor, buried right here in the cemetery behind me. I saw this in a book, actually, Famous Graves, a book that was given to me by my fiance, Chris the Girl, and I knew I was going to be strolling through Vermont today, and I said, hey, I've got to go see the resting place of one of my favorite actors of all time. My dad introduced me to Charles Bronson when I was little. First it was The Dirty Dozen, and then eventually it was Death Wish. Became a big fan of his action movies. So many great films, all the Death Wish movies, also 10 Till Midnight, one of my favorites, and Evil Men Do. The Evil Men Do. Had a very cool life, was an actor, originally born in Pennsylvania, laid to rest right out here in Vermont, and also his wife is buried out here as well. We'll begin here. I'm going to show you the resting place to Charles Bronson. If you're a fan, I hope you enjoy this video, and we come to pay our respects, so let's all be respectful. And let me start by saying this is a pretty old cemetery. There are graves in here at some parts from the early 1800s, and I think across the way, the oldest part, there's some over there from the 1700s. And I parked a little too soon. Actually, I've got to go up that way, up the hill towards the end. I think yeah, there's some people over there, so I got to be careful and be respectful. People are visiting graves out here, but the grave I'm looking for is right up there. I actually moved my car up. I've come inside the cemetery to find the resting place of Charles Bronson and wife Jill Ireland, who was also an actor, an English actor. You have to come all the way north. It's marked on the map. Their grave is actually on top of the hill, the furthest north. Right up here. Check this out. There's two urns or planters. Oh wow, this is beautiful. Wow. That is cool. I love this. Hey Charlie. Wow, I come in peace. I'm a big fan. This is amazing. Alright. Pay our respects. That's for sure. Charles Bronson, November 3rd, 1921, died August 30th, 2003. Cherished husband and father. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not here. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamonds glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the autumn's gentle rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry, I am not here, I did not die. Absolutely beautiful. Got roses, you've got the trees, and a little bench here. And I think I know why he chose this spot to be buried. Look at that. That's beautiful. My dad would have loved to have been here with me today, and he is. He's always with me. Just like that reads right there. no one truly dies, they just move on. So, very cool to be here. Let's talk about his life, Charles Bronson. And Charles loved to ride horses. It looks like someone left him a horse there with a key on it. Also a little trophy and a rock, yellow rock there to the right of the tombstone. And notice this right here. U.S. Army. Charles was a World War II veteran. He was in the Army Air Corps and served during World War II. Charles Bronson, born Charles Dennis Buczynski. Buczynski was his real last name. Bronson, a stage name. We'll talk more about that later. He was born in Ehrenfeld, Pennsylvania, in a coal mining town. He was the 11th of 15 children. That's a lot of kids. His parents were Roman Catholic and they were from Lithuania. Charles was born into a very poor family, 15 kids in rural Pennsylvania, a coal miner's son. Eventually Charles, out of high school, would become a coal miner himself. And then when it came time for World War II, he would enlist and join the United States Army Air Corps, and he would fight in the Pacific. After World War II, he would come back home, and in 1946 he would go to Philadelphia to begin his acting career, and then eventually he would go on to New York. Charles was a part of many television shows and movies, so many. I can think of a few more as we're sitting here. The Mechanic is one of my favorites too. That's a really good film. Also Apache, The Apache. Television shows, he was on the Red Skeleton Show. I believe he did a movie with Elvis in 1962. I think it was Elvis's 10th movie. The name escapes me, but I do know he collaborated with so many great actors alongside Lee Marvin and the Dirty Dozen. The list goes on. The man had an incredible acting career. And later, so in his career, he would change his name. Through the 40s and 50s, he went by Buczynski, but his agent, in fear, and this is how things were back then, in fear that people would suspect he was from an Eastern background, they changed his name to Bronson. And the reason he changed his name to Bronson was because in Los Angeles, across from the film studio where he had just left after his agent said, "Hey man, you gotta change your name," he walked out and he saw Bronson on the street sign. So there's a Bronson Street in LA, out in Hollywood. He looked across the street and he said, that was it. I think it was Bronson Way. But that is how Charles Bronson got his name, and that's how we know him today. But he did do so many, dozens upon dozens of features and films with Buczynski, and he's credited with those as well. A remarkable man. I read into a little bit of his personal life. He loved his mother. He did not have much of a relationship with his father. He was very poor. He was born a worker, and he died a worker. A great actor all the way to the end of his day. And it's very awesome to be out here today to pay tribute to one of my favorite actors of all time. The last time I did this, I was at James Dean's grave in Fairmount, Indiana. This is equivalent to that. So I'm here to make an entire video on Charles Bronson, and also, of course, we've got to visit his wife. She's out here as well. And if you're a fan of this man, especially the Death Wish movies, I love those movies. I hope you enjoy this time out here as we all pay our respects together. And I come in peace and I'll leave in peace. And a moment of silence for the Charles Bronson with this awesome view right here. Good to see you, Charles. Nice to finally meet you. Beautiful place you picked here. Beautiful place. Say hello to my dad for me. Hey, Dad. Hope you're hanging out. Hope you're hanging out with Paul Kersey right there, man. That's awesome. And I thought that Jill Ireland, Charles Bronson's wife and loved one, would be buried next to him, but I do not see her resting place, so I'm going to try to locate. And I believe I found something very unique out here. Jill Ireland married Charles Bronson in 1968. They met on the set of a movie. Don't quote me on the name of the movie. I'll put it down here below so you can see it. I'll look it up later. But they met acting together. Jill was an English actress. She was born in England in 1936. They married in 1968. She died 13 years prior to Charles in 1990, and she was actually cremated, and Charles had her ashes with him. So therefore, when Jill passed away, Charles had his wife's ashes and he kept them, and when he was buried, those ashes were placed here with Charles. And I read, I don't know how true this is, it is the internet, but it looks like Jill's ashes are in Charles's cane, inside of Charles' cane. Now, that means Charles walked with a cane, I believe, near the end of his life, and he would have his wife with him. So he was buried with that cane. So Jill and Charles lay at rest, pieced together, right there in the same spot. Jill Ireland and Charles Bronson, the resting place. This is very cool, very unique story. And these two loved each other so much, and they, you know, met doing what they love. They were both actors, and both of them had really good careers. And here we are today, visiting them in Vermont. This was cool. I had to come out here and make a separate video just because stuff like this, I feel like you have to approach a little bit differently. You just don't want to throw it in the middle of a video. Although sometimes it does happen, but for me, we owe it to him. So, The Great Escape, I believe Charles was in that. The list just keeps going, but 10 Till Midnight and Death Wish, I think those are my two favorite Charles Bronson movies. Also, a very funny reference in the Boondock Saints. Charlie Bronson's got the rope. Who remembers that line? Charles Bronson. I come in peace, we come in peace, and we leave in peace. With respect. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. It's a little short, but it's all about just showing this right here and me visiting, paying my respects. That's all it is. Glad I got to bring you with me. There's much ahead. Know you're awesome, know you're loved, and no matter who you are, what you're going through, know that there's always much ahead, my friends. I believe that in my heart and in my soul. And just like Charles Bronson wanted us to know, I am not here. I did not die. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I said it a little backwards, but exactly. Charles Bronson and Jill Ireland right here. All right, everyone. Peace out. See you next time. There's always much ahead. So much ahead.